Welcome inside the headquarters, another edition of the Debrief, and it's a good day to be a Northeast General as the Generals victorious in their play-in round, the best-of-3 series against the Maine Nordiques, and now are one of 4 teams remaining heading into the Eastern Division semifinals, where they will take on the Rochester Junior Americans Game 1 and Game 2 coming up this weekend. My name's Rory McGoran. This is The Debrief, another episode of the official podcast of the Northeast Generals, and an amazing show because the vibes around the Canton Ice House and the Northeast Generals organization are at an all-time high. Loser of Game 1 in the best-of-3 series, dominant victory in Game 2, and then in a playoff-like atmosphere, playoff intensity, smothering 60 minutes, they prevail and come out on top, knocking out the Maine Nordiques and advancing into the East Division semifinals. So a great weekend. We're going to recap all that. We'll show you all your highlights. We'll be joined by North American Hockey League Playoff Point Leader Kody Moyer, who now is also the Generals, crazy to think about this, franchise leader in playoff points, tied with 11 points, although he's only done it in 3 games. So 1 point away, he will be the sole owner of the most playoff points in franchise history. Great weekend for him. Great weekend for the entire Generals organization as they're moving to the semifinals. And we'll start, of course, as we always do, with the scores from the weekend. All right, so here it is. This is the Friday Game 1 of the play-in series, which featured 4 series taking place, 2 of them in the East Division, 2 of them in the South Division. The Maine Nordiques, this was the 5-4 victory. They took Game 1, putting the Generals on the brink of elimination, needing to win both Games 2 and Game 3. Had a crazy comeback effort by the Generals, which we'll talk about and show the highlights of as well from Friday night, but it was the Maine Nordiques on the road getting the upper hand on the Generals. The Danbury Hat-Tricks, they came in as the 6th seed, the final playoff team that was basically 1 loss away from not even making the playoffs. Danbury squeaks in ahead of Johnstown and then takes on New Jersey, the 3 seed, and a 3-0 shutout victory for the Danbury Hat-Tricks. The upset, they take the early advantage, and John Dukerich, the goaltender, I believe it was a 51 save performance. It might have been 58, but nonetheless, insane game for John Dukerich, who picks up the shutout and basically steals Game 1 for the Danbury Hat-Tricks. Then in the South Division, you had the Shreveport Mudbugs picking up a 7-2 win over the Corpus Christi Ice Rays, and the Oklahoma Warriors 4-3 on El Paso. So it was Maine, Danbury, Shreveport, Oklahoma, all the lower seeds victorious in Game 1. As we move now to this was the Saturday game for all four matchups. Game 2, Danbury sweeps the Jersey Titans. So a huge upset now, which means prior to even Game 3 going for the Generals and the Maine Nordiques, they knew that the winner of that game would play Rochester because Danbury, the 6th seed, advanced on Saturday, a 5-1 victory, another amazing performance for John Dukerich. Matt Spungen with a pair of goals in that game, and the 6th seed will go and play the 1 seed. Danbury is heading to Maryland, and their first ever playoff appearance in franchise history results in a first ever series win in franchise history, and they're going to the semis. The Maine Nordiques and the Northeast Generals absolutely dominating response game for the Generals, led 7-0 at one point, 4 goals in the first, 4 goals in the second, and skate away with an 8-2 victory. We'll talk a bit about this game with Kody Moyer. A 7-point night for Kody Moyer. A touch on 7 of the 8 goals. Insane. That's also a franchise record for the Northeast Generals. The Shreveport Mudbugs, another upset, a little bit closer. 5-4, though, Corpus Christi. And Shreveport will sweep the Ice Rays, so Shreveport's going to the semifinals in the South Division. And it was a response game for the El Paso Rhinos. 5-1, they victorious over the Oklahoma Warriors. So 2 series, 1 in the East, 1 in the South, went into Game 3, winner take all. And it was the Northeast Generals, a 3-1 victory, and this was one of the tightest playoff-like feelings, intensity, smothering nature in the game that you would ever expect. And, that's what winner-take-all games usually bring out, and it certainly did in the Canton Ice House. But the Generals, a 3-1 victory, pick up the win, knock out the Nordiques, going on to take on the Rochester Junior Americans. And now the El Paso Rhinos, they answered back. So it was both the Generals and the Rhinos needing to win back-to-back games, and both of them doing so. 4-1, El Paso moves on in the South Division. Quickly, before we bring it back into your headquarters, we'll show you this at the end of the show as well, but we usually show you the standings at this point. So this is the East Division tree. New Jersey out, Maine out. Danbury in against the Maryland Blackbears, 1-6. And now 2-4, the Rochester Junior Americans will take on the Northeast Generals. Two teams will advance, obviously, to the East Division Finals. And the winner of that one will get to represent the East in the Robertson Cup tournament in Minnesota. So now let's bring it into the headquarters. Yeah, welcome back in here, the headquarters. Rory McGorn with you. Northeast Generals, best out of 3, pick up the Saturday and the Sunday win. But we'll show you the highlights for all 3, and we'll kind of break it down game by game. So here is Friday night's highlights, the 5-4 loss, and the incredible comeback effort that just fell a little bit short for the Gents. Puck worked up the wall, but Cole Esty will fire a long-distance shot. That one paddled away. Another one coming from the point is tipped in front, down low, shot scores! Austin Bohr back into the corner for the Nordiques. Myers dropping it back, spinning around his eye tree. One more pass up to Perron with 7 seconds across. One-timer scores! And not a lot of time, though. 20 seconds on the power play here for the Gens, their first of the game. Moyer, Rutherford, skate to stick, his shot, rebound, they score! Luke Gallo is on an 18-game point drought. Former General, Sheward, up top shot, scores! Redirected in, top to Fabiano. Barkowski took a stick up high, it was missed. William Perron cuts across to the front of the net, shot, scores! The Nordiques going for Brian Erickson with Hall joining Moyer and Poulin. Logan Poulin in on a 3-on-2. Hall tried to get the pass across. Poulin, sharp angle shot, scores! He can play. Hard pass to Poulin. Poulin left side down low, looking for the give and go. Hudloff goes up top for Ipri. Now moves it. Kody Moyer, shot, scores! A power play. Got another one. It's Ipri and Sheward. Ipri, Jury. Beautiful centering pass. Connor, 2-on-1. Martaldo, shot, scores! Sticafaro back on the boards. This one at the line. No, Ipri stumbles. Myers with Sandjuk, 2-on-0, scores! So there are the highlights from Friday night's game. The Gens fell 5-4, albeit going into the third period, trailing 4-1 against the Maine Nordiques. They rattled off 3 straight goals, and that's kind of where they found their footing. We talked to Kody Moyer about it, and they don't have a lot, if any, really junior experience, North American Hockey League playoff experience, especially none of that. But even in junior hockey, just not a ton of playoff games for the players, the key players on the roster this year. And you could kind of see it, maybe just lacking that intensity coming into that game, feeling good on a 5-game winning streak. Maine jumped out early, often 4-1 going into the third period. And I think that was kind of the wake-up call, because great pushback effort. 3 straight goals to tie it up at 4. Yes, you saw that final goal. Damon Myers, the captain, he ended the night with 2 goals for the Maine Nordiques. But the Generals were finding the game that we saw that they needed to have to get them a home ice advantage spot at the end of the season. But also you need that next level in the playoffs as well, not just that regular season push. And they were starting to get it in the third period, albeit fell back just short. In fact, from the third period on, the rest of the series, the Northeast Generals outscored the Maine Nordiques 12-4. So for the final 7 periods of the best of 3, it was 12-4 for the Northeast Generals, a lot of which, of course, was the game on Saturday, dominating 8-2 victory, and the highlights from that. Into Hall. Hall will dig it back up off a corner and work it back up top for Vinny Ipri. Ipri takes a look. Shot, scores! Tipped in by Alec Hall. All the way down on top of Fierst and bounced off him partially. Now he coughed it up. Bruce Severino, he scores! Myers and Rusarito first in the corner after it, but Myers is quicker. Poulin with a body check. Savalio in front, tipped high over the shoulder, scores! A high. Ipri drops for Poulin. Now to Moyer. Moyer dances around one. Got clipped down. Rusarito. What a move. Backhand scores. Second goal of the game. Moyer will cut in. Moyer now goes wide left. Drags. Shoots. Blocked. That one stung up the defenseman. Or it's the forward. Oster in front. Shot scores. What hands by Kody Moyer. 2 goals tonight. Moyer. Backdoor. Hall. Unable to get the shot off. Tried to reset back up top. Moyer now. McKenna. He drags. Fires. Scores. Bar down. Cole McKenna. Well, now they're giving the goal to Kody Moyer. I think they've had about 4 of these goals wrong. I don't think that Moyer tipped that in. Hinchliff fires. Scores. So Maine is going to go on a 5-on-3. They're not giving the puck up to the Generals, though. Perrant across to Eitri. He shoots. He scores. Josh Eitri. Doubt General's going to have a 2-on-1 potential here. Moyer and Connor, but they both took the right side and weren't able to get anything going. How about Finn Connor? It bounced off a body. He spins. He shoots. He scores. And next weekend, semifinals. Shot, tipped, rebound, scores. So yeah, a dominating 8-2 victory for the Northeast Generals. And my stats were actually wrong. It was 14-4 was the goals for and against starting in the third period of game 1 in favor of the Northeast Generals. This was the Kody Moyer show. 7 points in a game, 2 goals, 5 assists, a franchise record in playoff points for a Northeast General player. We haven't gone through every single regular season game, but it's also, I would bet that it's the franchise record for points in any game for a Northeast General player. Absurd that the team even scored 8 goals in a playoff game. Even more crazy that there was one player to get a touch on all 7 goals. So congratulations to Kody Moyer, who leads all players in playoff points. He would if it was just that game. But he added a few points in game 1, another one in game 2, and now has 11 points in 3 games. But Will Mazenko was, not amazing in game 1. Neither was Lucas Fiersten for the Maine Nordiques. Neither goaltender really had good numbers in game 1. Mazenko came into game 2. He looked like his normal self. Fiersten did not. The Generals chased Fiersten. He allowed 3 goals on 6 shots. Matthew Wood came in. He allowed the other 5 goals against on about 25 shots. So the Generals, really took it to both goaltenders. Their special teams, their power play is, not just in that game, on fire. It was 4 for 5 in that game. It's at about 55% overall in the playoffs. Their penalty kill is over 90%. They finished first in the East Division in both power play and penalty kill in the regular season. It has clearly continued on into the postseason. So a better game for a goaltender, offensive output and power play, penalty kill. Generals were almost unbeatable on Saturday night to even that up in a game where they had to, do or die, pick up the victory. That led into Sunday, and Sunday, 3 p.m. game. This is now the 3rd game in less than 3 days. This one had all the playoff feel, intensity. It was 1-0 for the Generals 6 minutes into the game, and it stayed 1-0 for the next 40-plus minutes until halfway through the 3rd period. But here is the highlights from the game, the series clinching 3-1 victory for the Generals. Alec Hall and Tyler Kelly now for the Generals. Anderson and Myers for the Nordiques. It's 1 to McKenna. He shoots and scores! Cole McKenna! Play on the puck. Perrant goes back into the corner. Hirsch actually stopped it with his body. Down low for Hudloff. Barkowski's in front. Drop. Hirsch. He scores! McKenna breaks it up. Kody Moyer takes it wide. Knocked off the puck, but it's going to be skated up into by Poulin. Fiersten back to the net. Poulin back on. He scores! Hudloff and Myers. Face-off won by Myers. Borgard shot scores. And that was it. So Cole McKenna got it started with the first goal 6 minutes in, his second goal of the postseason for the graduating player, Spencer Hirsch. Then the insurance marker. This game could have swayed either way multiple times. Hirsch from Bartkowski, a beautiful drop pass, fooling Fierstein, who tried to poke check Bartkowski. Hirsch gets his first playoff goal, his first career playoff goal. Generals didn't make the postseason in his rookie season. So Hirsch gets the insurance. And then the Generals up 2-0, go on the PK. This wasn't shown in the highlights. Maine, Nick Skurlik, their head coach, pulls their goaltender Fierstein, so it's 6-on-4. Will Mazanko stands tall. The Generals play really good defensively, but then Maine puts too many players on the ice. They had 7 players on the ice at one point, too many men call, so obviously it gets back evened up. 5-on-5, 4-on-4. You got to put Fierstein back in the net, and when Fierstein was back in the net, that was that last goal. Logan Poulin, who 3 goals in the playoffs now for the leading goal scorer for the Generals in the regular season. He now is tied for the league lead in playoff goals now in the North American Hockey League. And then Borgard, tough break for Will Mazanko, who had his best game in Game 3, no doubt about it. Unbelievable. But then 18 seconds left off the faceoff. Borgard beats him, and you can kind of see his frustration. Just really, really wanted that shutout in the game-clinching victory for the Generals. But so what? It doesn't matter. His save percentage is back up over 900 after starting at 820 after Game 1. So he's a big reason why the Generals, albeit underdogs in this next matchup with the Rochester Junior Americans, you can't ever think that you're a heavy, heavy favorite when you have a goaltender like Will Mazanko and you have the special teams that the Northeast Generals do, first place in power play, first place in penalty kill, and then just offense, really finding this style of play that's needed in the postseason. So that is your recap and the scores and the highlights of the 3 games. Insane weekend in terms of just war of attrition, and the Generals, they came out on top, defeat the Maine Nordiques, and actually picked up now 7 of their last 8 games winners, going into the playoffs on a 5-game winning streak, and then 2 out of 3, and they won 5 out of the last 6 games against the Maine Nordiques as well after dropping the first 3. So finding different ways to win, really finding that playoff-type style. And this is going to be one heck of a series against the Rochester Junior Americans. But let's hear from one of the men who is going to play in it and the guy who had 7 points in one game. Here he is, Kody Moyer. All right, Rory McGoran back here on the Debrief, and now really pleased to welcome in. He is the North American Hockey League leader in playoff points, Kody Moyer. Kody, thanks so much for joining us. How was practice today? How's the vibe around the room?
It's good. There's a lot of buzz. The boys are having fun.
Let's kind of talk about, having fun, because for the first time since there's been, the play-in round in the East Division, the Northeast Generals are going to the semifinals. A 3-game series that just peaked in Game 3 in terms of intensity, but just as a group, how good did it feel getting the job done?
Oh, it was awesome. We all knew we could do it. Obviously, the first game wasn't great, but it was awesome.
Can you walk me through, or the listeners through, those 3 games? You could take it game by game if you want to, and just kind of, how you thought they all went in terms of execution and how you guys played. Obviously got better as it went on, though.
Yeah, I think the first game we were just getting our feet wet a little bit, because I think we only have 4 guys who have played playoff games before. So a lot of us were just, getting used to it, the pace and all that. And then the second game, you saw us really settle in, take control, and then kind of continued through the third game.
Did that Game 3 have the intense, smothering, playoff-like atmosphere that you kind of expected? Because you mentioned Game 1, feet wet. Game 2, it was a rout. You guys dominated them 8-2. But Game 3 was, broadcasting it, it just felt like it was something extra.
It was definitely a little tense, yeah. Very, very intense game.
A game that you enjoy playing in, or?
100%. Yeah, we all love those kind of games.
So do you think that the team was building towards that style of play with your 5-game winning streak at the end of the season, talking to each other, talking to the coaches, that, you have this style that really suits the playoffs well? And did you feel that growing throughout the final stretch of the regular season and into the playoffs?
Yeah, 100%. We definitely started to lock down on systems and how we wanted to play against Maine and now Rochester.
How were your nerves, though? Like, just going in, even after losing the first game, right? Because you make that crazy push in the third period, coming back, tying it up 4-4, ended up losing that game. Was there ever a time where the nerves were maybe getting the better of you, or the dressing room was feeling a little bit of the pressure being down in a do or die game?
I don't think so. After we kind of had that push in the first game, we kind of all knew like, hey, we're a really good team. Let's just take care of business.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, let's go down to the individual aspect. A 7 point night in game two. You had a touch on seven out of the eight goals, which is a franchise record in the playoffs. It probably is a franchise record in general. I haven't gone through every regular season game the Generals have played, but
Yeah.
I'd venture a guess that it is. What was working for you?
Just about everything. I mean, all credit goes to my line mates, Rich and Logan Poulin. I mean, they make everything happen for me, so my job's pretty easy.
Did you know, like, you got 4 points into the game, or maybe 5 points. Did you know you were having a night like that while the game was going on, or not until after?
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to it. I just knew we were getting a bunch of bounces. Like it was just one of those nights, pucks bouncing your way. I wasn't paying too much attention to it though.
Not paying attention, but did you maybe have a hint that, like, oh man, like, I might have a couple here tonight?
Yeah, some of the guys were on the bench were like, "Hey, how are you doing?" But I was like, "Whatever, we'll look later."
Yeah, team success obviously came first.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I want to throw out a pretty crazy stat, and I'm not sure if you know this yet, because I just found out about 15 minutes ago doing the prep that you are now the all-time franchise leader in playoff points, and you've done it in 3 games.
Yeah, no, I had no clue.
You just tied Luc Bourdon, who played, 2017-18 playoffs. He had 11 points in 10 games for the Generals, and now you have 11 points in 3 games.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Does it mean something? I mean, obviously the team success comes first, but is
Um,
that cool to have?
it's cool, obviously, but no, I'm more focused on winning and team success.
Gotcha. Before we get into Rochester and kind of what you guys need to do in this semifinals, which goes to a best of five, you're starting on the road. I want to talk about playing with your brother, Kyle, right? He got into was it 2 games? I think just 1 game, right?
Just one game, yeah.
Just 1 game. He's a defenseman, right? You're the forward, but you guys got to share the ice together as a general. You will obviously next season as he's a tender as well, and you're a returning player. What's that mean to your family to kind of just to have that opportunity?
It's pretty special. We've only played together 1 year before this, a while back when we were 12. So it's definitely special to play together.
And is the I guess in the 1 game you probably didn't have enough time, but do you guys have like a competitive rivalry where the game's going well, but you're still able to kind of rib them a bit?
Yeah, not so much during the game, but we definitely look at like how I compared to when I was his age and all that.
And did you kind of like talk to him about the Generals and just your time here in order, for him to make that decision on where he wanted to tender?
Oh, 100%. He knows. Like I made sure to tell him how much I love it here and all that. So
Yeah, I mean it's really cool. You don't often get it. Especially, you might get it in that small sample size like this year if you're a graduating player, but next year you're going to get,
yeah.
the full taste together, which is really really fun. I've heard. Well, quickly, no, let's go to the Rochester game, right? So you guys split the series 3-3 in the regular season. They are just waiting there, and you guys are coming in on this upward trajectory, right? Peaking at the right time as you did in the regular season and now here in the postseason. But just what do you remember from Rochester? Why are they so dangerous?
They're just a team that can skate. I think they play a lot like us in the way they play like speed and physicality. But what makes them dangerous, they just have a bunch of 05s. They're an old team,
Yeah.
playoff experience, but I don't think we should have a problem, really.
Are you excited to go out on the road? I mean, you guys have played 4 home games to wrap up the regular season and now 3 straight in the playoffs. You're going to go into a really electric atmosphere, a tough place to win a game, but does that kind of, chip on the shoulder or, Generals are the underdogs, right? They haven't had this success in some time, and now you get a chance to try and prove the league wrong.
Yeah. I love playing in like busy rinks personally. I think most of the guys do. Just the energy, the crowd, and getting to silence them when you get the chance.
Yeah, 100%. And also with this team, the Generals, I mean, maybe one of the reasons that you are peaking is that you're getting back finally, it seems like, to full health, right? I went back, I think it's October, the last time when you can kind of piece together. Of course, a couple bodies are still out, Alejandro Blum, right? But you're pretty darn close to full health. Do you guys feel that in the room that, hey, now we can make some damage? And how hard was that grind when just guys are going out and then coming back in and a new guy goes out?
Yeah, we definitely feel like, hey, we're ready to go. And the grind was it was hard, but I mean, obviously we have guys who can step into roles and play those roles pretty well. So
Well, and you're the only player on the team that played all 59 games, the Ironman streak in the regular season. Um, how are you able to do that?
I think it's just a testament to my work in the gym and keeping my body healthy. Like sleep is huge for me, and obviously working out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard you were a gym rat, right? So how often
Yeah,
are you in there?
I usually like 3 to 4 times during the season, and then like preseason, I go really hard just to make sure I'm ready.
What are you benching right now?
Right now, probably not much, but in the summer, 275 probably.
As a max or as reps?
Oh, max for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like, Jesus.
not reps. Yeah,
Jesus. Unreal, man. No, I appreciate the time. The 11 points in 3 games is absolutely crazy. I know that you're putting individual statistics aside, but you're the franchise leader in points right now with one more sole possession of it. So thanks for the time.
yeah,
Congratulations
yeah.
on the win. I can't imagine how great it felt in the dressing room, and best of luck against Rochester.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
All right, big thanks to Kody Moyer for joining us on the debrief. 11 points in 3 games. Leads the league in playoff points by a good margin. Also the franchise leader in playoff points already in 3 games played in his first postseason as a general. So a lot of accolades for him, but as you know, you can kind of hear from him, doesn't value those as much as the team's success, and the team is having success. His line is having success, and they're going to the Eastern Division semifinals for the first time since there's been 10 teams, or even since the first time since they've had the play-in round. They've made the playoffs before when there was just 4 teams going into the playoffs in the East, but this is the first time that they'll be there when there's the play-in round first in franchise history. So before we wrap up the show, though, let's quickly go through the division playoff trees and what's coming up this weekend. So this is the Central Division. The Austin Bruins, far and away the number 1 seed, will take on the Watertown Shamrocks. Of course, in the Central, only 4 teams make it. And last year's Robertson Cup champion, the Bismarck Bobcats, will take on the Aberdeen Wings. Same with the Midwest tree, as only 4 teams make it. The Minnesota Wilderness was ranked number 1 a few weeks in the North American Hockey League rankings. They'll take on Anchorage. And then Fairbanks, the number 2 team, will take on the Wisconsin Wendigo. In the South tree, this division, had the play-in round in which you see Shreveport knocking out Corpus Christi and El Paso knocking out Oklahoma. So you'll have the 1 seed Lone Star Brahmas welcoming in the 5 seed Shreveport Mudbugs, and then you have New Mexico at 2 taking on the 3 seed El Paso Rhinos. And then once again, as we promised, your East Division tree, the Northeast Generals are the underdog. They are the lower seed, but they shouldn't have any underdog belief that exists in their team. 3-3 against the Rochester Junior Americans in the regular season. Completely split. Generals outscored them 21-18 throughout those 6 games. They have to believe that they have the goaltending edge. They have to believe that they have the special team edge. And they are the hotter team going into the postseason. 7 of their last 8 games are victorious. So that will be an amazing series. It starts in Rochester Friday and Saturday for Games 1 and Game 2. And then you have the Maryland Black Bears, who have been the best team in the league, basically wire to wire. And they will welcome in the Danbury Hat-Tricks, who, playing, I don't want to say with nothing to lose. No one wants their season to be over. But already an upset against New Jersey. And if they can make some storm with John Dukarech in net against Maryland, it would be an enormous upset for the Danbury Hat-Tricks. That will start this weekend as well in Maryland. One more graphic for you, and these are your leaders. We talked about him. We talked to him. It was Kody Moyer, 11 points in 3 games. That leads Troy Hunka, who's in second for El Paso. But you also have Vinny Ipri, tied for the lead in defensive scoring with 5 points. Alec Hall makes it into the top 10. And also, there's just a lot of players tied with 4 points. Logan Poulin would also be in that tie. He's got 3 goals and 1 assist. But, Kody Moyer's 11 points in 3 games is a pretty incredible start for the Northeast Generals, 2006 birth year, mind you, forward. He's eligible
to return next year. So, as we bring it back into the headquarters for you, that's going to do it for our show. The weekend recap, 3 games of highlights. The Northeast Generals, they back against the wall, and they just became a more consistent and glued team together, finding that playoff identity that we knew was there, finding their health a bit as well, and 8-2 victory on Saturday, 3-1 victory on Sunday. It was an unbelievable series at the Canton Ice House. I think home ice advantage, the way they got it, sweeping the Maine Nordiques in regulation in the final 2 games of the regular season. Without it, they may not win Game 3. They may not dominate Game 2. So that was huge, and they're moving on to the semifinals. So big thanks to Kody Moyer for joining us this week on the Debrief. Thanks for all of you for watching. And the Northeast Generals will be in Rochester this weekend, Friday and Saturday. They'll be back home Thursday, Friday the following week for Games 3 and obviously possibly Games 4. 5 will happen later on in the weekend back in Rochester. It's the Junior Americans, the Northeast Generals, the Maryland Black Bears, the Danbury Hat-Tricks, 4 teams remaining fighting for Eastern Division supremacy. And we'll have the recaps of Game 1 and 2 next week on the Debrief. You've been informed. Thank you for watching.